Hi my angels, it's Hailey Reese and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am so excited that you guys are here and I hope that you're having an absolutely fantastic morning, afternoon, or night, whatever it is for you, when this video finally reaches you. Today's video is one of those where I might let you guys know to sit back, relax, but most importantly, maybe turn a light on if you're in a dark room, because we're going to be diving into yet another possession case. But today we're talking about the possession of little Louie, who is a 9-year-old boy from Texas who, after moving into an older home, became possessed. I've told you guys a million times, there's nothing that freaks me out more where the paranormal is concerned than when children are involved, and this case is absolutely bone-chilling. My heart goes out to the family that had to deal with this whole entire situation, and I'm so curious to know what you guys think of this particular case, because there has been some mixed thoughts where the case is concerned. But before we get into today's video, I am so excited to let you guys know that today's video is sponsored by Stereo. You guys, I've been on Stereo and I have absolutely loved more than anything connecting with you guys. I'll be going live once again on Stereo on Thursday, February 25th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And my best friend Jerica and I are going to be talking all about law of attraction. Now, what is so cool about Stereo is that if you guys tune in live, you can send in voice note comments or questions and contribute to the conversation or have your questions answered. Trust me, you guys, it's so much fun. I'm going to quickly insert a clip from our last Stereo live so you guys can get the vibe of what you'll be seeing and hearing. And I'm just so excited. And I'm looking out the window and supposedly we passed by a cemetery. And I chirped up and said, "Mama, what you doing laying in the ground?"
Oh my gosh.
Can you imagine your kids saying that?
I can just picture you because like I've seen pictures of you obviously when you were like little and like
Yeah.
being as chatty as you are now, being like, "What are you doing laying in the ground?"
So if you have yet to join Stereo, make sure you guys click the link down in my description, join the app and set the date, because I want to chat with you guys all about the law of attraction on Thursday, February 25th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So thank you so much to Stereo for partnering up with me, but also for allowing me to get even closer to my audience. And with that being said, let's get into today's video. All right, so as I mentioned to you guys, today is yet another paranormal experience, but this is on the much darker side because it is yet another possession case. We've covered some of the most documented possession cases. This is one that was sent in to me from family members who went through the experience, so there wasn't anything for me to pull online despite me kind of digging into it. Because in the past, I did enjoy looking through the different case files and what was said about the most documented possessions. And this one is just a family's terrifying, traumatic experience with a little boy named Louie. So Louie's parents were divorced when he was pretty young, and he actually moved around quite a bit with his family. His mom was kind of in between job to job, and his dad wasn't really around at this point of his life. So his mom was kind of a single mom at this particular moment. It wasn't that his dad didn't want to be in his life, but from my understanding, he was dealing with some health issues and personal issues, and so he wasn't as active in Louie's life as he would have liked to have been. So his mom really stepped up and took on the role of both for a good portion of his childhood. Now, his mom was between a lot of jobs, and at this point in his life, she would lose the job that she was really banking on to keep up with the lifestyle that they had. They weren't living a luxury life, so to speak, but they were living pretty well. They were in a nice home and doing well, and so losing the job really put a strain on his mother. When Louie was just 9 years old, they would move into an older home in Texas that was in his mom's price range. And something that she noticed right away was how affordable this home was, because even though it was a lot older, it sat on what seemed to be a really nice property, and there was a lot to the house. It wasn't a shack by any means. It was a beautiful home. It was just older. And actually, there's a lot of homes like that back where my dad used to live. The homes are beautiful. They're just older. So if that's not your cup of tea, then maybe you wouldn't enjoy the home. But for how big the house was and just the fact that it was older, she felt like it was a steal, and actually remembered thinking that this must be too good to be true. Now, when they moved into the house, she immediately noticed that the energy in the home was strange. On their first night there, the two of them slept in the same room because they were waiting for the rest of their furniture to be delivered, and they both kept waking up throughout the night, hearing strange noises, and they just felt very almost uncomfortable in the home. But the mom thought that it was just because it was an older home, number one, so it had a lot more rickety floors and walls, and that they just didn't have any furniture in there yet, so it didn't feel homey for them yet. And I mean, it's the first night in a new home, just the two of them. So a big part of her thought that once they brought the furniture in and they got settled in there and they got used to the noises of the house, that they'd feel a lot better in there. But that is important to note, that the first night didn't feel right. As the days continued on, all of their furniture was getting delivered to the home, and Louis's mom was doing his best to make the home as homey as possible, trying to spice it up with decor and candles and, their own scents in there, and just making it their home, because she really felt like this was her lucky break on being in such an affordable home that was big for the two of them, where she felt there was room for Louis to grow and really just make a life for them in this home. Now, it also is important to note that the home that they moved into, they were renting. And their landlord said that they had no intention of flipping new tenants or selling the house, that they could literally live there for the rest of their lives if they wanted to, and the landlord would be happy with that, which was another sort of red flag to Louis's mom. But she still felt like, am I just thinking this is too good to be true? Probably. I'm sure this is great. As the weeks went on living in the house, stranger and stranger things started to happen. Whenever Louis's mom would be showering, she would hear what sounded like two voices coming from the other room. She would hear her son's voice, and then she would hear a much darker voice. And when she would go into Louis's room after her shower to ask what he was doing, Louis just looked at her and said, "I'm just playing. We're just playing." And she's like, "What do you mean we're just playing? Are you just playing, or who's just playing, and who was the other voice?" And I guess Louis really was disregarding what she thought. He just kept playing, and so she thought, this move is strange. It's kind of getting to me. I don't know why I'm feeling this way. But that would be the start of very strange behavior with Louis. Throughout the night, she would wake up and hear her son in what sounded like a much raspier, darker, almost evil sounding voice in the room. And when she would go in, Louis didn't have any answers for her. What was kind of different about this case than other cases I've heard of is Louis didn't even mention somebody else being in the room at all. He never said he had an imaginary friend. He never gave any explanation. He kind of just shrugged his shoulders and said playing, just playing. And so she was really concerned about his behavior, and even more so when he started to become very reclusive. He was very distant from her. They used to hang out together a lot. They'd make dinner together. They would spend a lot of time together. After he would come home from school and she'd be done work, they would spend a lot of time. And now it seemed like all he wanted to do was be locked up in his room and really have nothing to do with his mom at all. It was around this point that she started to notice that strange things continued in the house, and as they did, it was almost like the strange things were getting crazier or stronger as Louis was getting more and more different. He was becoming angry and hot-headed. If she would ask him to do chores after dinner, he would get angry with her. And she said that she would look at him and his eyes would almost be black. It was like he wasn't even present and this anger was taking over him. He started to display some signs of violence. When he would get mad at her, he would clench his fists really tight and go to punch the wall, but not really. And these were things that her son had never done. And so over the span of living there, there's strange noises in the home. She's not sleeping well. She's hearing this second voice. And now her son is starting to get very, very angry. But there was one night in particular where she knew something was not right. She awoke in the middle of the night and she heard that second voice that she'd been hearing coming from Louis's room. She goes into Louis's room and goes to ask him once again, "Louis, what's going on?" But this time, instead of Louis just shrugging his shoulders and acting like nothing was going on, it didn't even look like Louis. It was her son, but his eyes were glazed over. It's like he wasn't there. He stared at her in a way that she said she was fearful of her small son, and the voice came out of him and said, "You'd better leave now." And so she started questioning him. She goes, Louis, what are you doing? Why are you talking like that? What's going on? And she said, he looked at her and said, I'm not Louis. Leave. And she said at this point in time, she went to go out of the room to regroup herself. And as she walked out of the room, almost like a draft came through Louis's room, the door slammed on her. And when she opened, okay, that was kind of creepy. Did you guys just hear that? My closet door just made a little noise. Okay. Anyways, and as she reopened the door, a very dazed and confused Louis was there who had no memory of everything that had just happened. He had absolutely no memory at all. This would go on, you guys, for months. 3 or 4 months into living in the house, she decided that she needed to seek help because these little bursts of Louis not being Louis were becoming longer every time, and she was actually becoming scared of her own kid. She didn't know if it was something to do with a new school or a new home or what was going on with him, but she knew that something wasn't right, and she went and took him to a doctor. And much like many other cases, the doctor couldn't explain it and actually asked if some sort of trauma had taken place, that this was some sort of coping mechanism or a pullback from Louis to deal with any sort of traumas that he was experiencing. But as time would go on, she would learn very quickly that this home that she moved into was in fact too good to be true. Because when she talked to some neighbors, they basically explained to her that every family that ever lived there moved out within months. Nobody could stay there. And that's why such a big home, despite being older, was so inexpensive, and why the landlord literally begs people pretty much to live there and would let them live there forever. And what she would later find out after moving out of the home is that her son was under a demonic attack by an entity that was within the home that actually doesn't stick with the people when they move out, but guards the home, so to speak, and preys on the weak. And because Louis was so young and he was kind of going through so many changes, he was an easy target, so to speak. And they later found out that Louis actually had some underlying medical conditions as well that could have also made him a little bit weaker, and the entity took advantage of that. But what's even creepier, you guys, is after they moved out of the house, all of those experiences stopped, but Louis did not remember anything in that home. From the moment they moved in until the moment they moved out, he had no memories of the home. And now he's a grown teenager and he has absolutely no knowledge or recollection of those months of his life. He has no idea. And his mom fears that he was becoming possessed, but that the entity hadn't fully taken him over yet. But if she hadn't noticed that something was wrong, she would have lost her son for good. His mom said that the home is so evil that she's been trying to get other people on board to find a way to make sure the home could be demolished, that the home should not even be standing anymore. But a lot of people have argued that whatever entity or energy is there will just stay trapped to the land as well, and that some sort of proper exorcism has to be done. So to this day, the home, as far as I know, from what I gathered, still stands, and it continues to have families in and out of it with no warning from the landlord. It's just a too good to be true situation that people unfortunately jump into and then wind up met with something far darker. I really want to know what you guys think of this particular case. I would love to know in your comments down below. Obviously, the degree of possession wasn't like the other cases that we've covered, but I definitely think it could have gotten a lot worse and gotten to a much darker point if she hadn't stepped in and made the choice to move out with her son and get him out of that environment. But I do think it's very eerie that he has like no recollection of living there, because a lot of times when somebody is possessed and they have exorcisms performed and they are exorcised, they won't remember while they were possessed. But from what I gathered, he was in and out of possession, so it's interesting to me that he doesn't remember anything, which is one of the biggest things I'd love to know your guys' thoughts, opinions, and theories on. But that is basically the possession of little Louis, and I would love to know from you guys what you guys thought of it. Once again, you guys, I would just love to thank Stereo for partnering up with me for today's video. As I mentioned, on Thursday, February 25th, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be live on the Stereo app chatting all about Law of Attraction. So make sure you guys download the app. I will have a link down in my description. download the app, join Stereo, and set your alarm to join me and my best friend live 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Thursday, February 25th. And thank you so much to Stereo for sponsoring this video. If you guys are new to my channel or you are just not yet subscribed, but you do enjoy my videos, I would seriously love it if you go ahead and click that subscribe button. And please give this video a big thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Remember, my loves, do all things with kindness. And until next time, I love you guys.